Okay, the clock just struck 10:05, and we're going to start the meeting of the Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee. And with that, I will ask Winter to please take roll.
Chair Del Carlo,
I am here.
Vice Chair Arascata, Regent Batista, Regent Brown,
Present.
Regent Fernandez.
Present.
You do have a quorum.
So we have 3 here, right? Okay, thank you. All right. I know the others are here, so. Okay, before we begin, we take a moment to recognize that here in Nevada, we stand on the land of the Washoe, Numu, Nevada, Paiute, Nuwe, Western Shoshone, and Nuwu, Southern Paiute. We take a moment to recognize and honor their stewardship that continues into today. With this recognition, we state an intention to rightfully include their voice and respect them as the 27 sovereign tribal nations of Nevada. Okay. And with that, we will go to public comment. For those of you who would like to call in and offer public comment, please dial 669-444-9171 and enter meeting ID 961-6251-7764 and passcode, this is the easy part, 555-555. So is there any public comment here at UNR? Okay. SCS, is there any public comment on the phone?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we're going to go to item number 2, which is an action item for consent, the minutes, and the deactivation of the UNLV program on communication studies.
Move to approve items in consent.
Okay, we have a motion from Regent Brown, and we have a
Regent Fernandez, I second.
second from Regent Fernandez. Okay, is there any discussion or questions from any members of the committee? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes and the deactivation of the UNLV program in communication study, please say aye.
Aye.
I just heard 3 ayes, I'm an aye, and with that, it's unanimous. And so the motion passes, and we'll go on to item number 3. It's a possible action item 2. It's UNLV program proposal for a Bachelor's of Arts in Audio Production. And we will go to the officer in charge, Executive Vice President and Provost, Kate Corrigan.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chair Del Carlo, Vice Chair Arascata, Regents, and colleagues. So I am Kate Corrigan. I am the officer in charge, as you heard, of the Executive Vice President Provost Office at UNLV. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. Thank you for approving our deactivation. We will likely be back to reactivate that last communication studies degree soon, as we are redesigning it to be more workforce aligned. But today I bring forth 2 proposals for new degrees for your consideration. Each of these is strategic, student-centered, and workforce aligned. So the first one is a BA, a Bachelor of Arts in Audio Production. And this degree builds on a successful minor in music technology that already exists at UNLV. We have 58 students already in that minor program as of spring 25. And these students are pursuing careers in music production, film, sound, and live audio, right? So our projections for the new degree are that if we make this a major, we are likely to have about 20 students in the first fall semester, about 35 students in the third, and at least 40 in the 5th fall semester. Now these headcount projections were based upon surveys of current students who are interested in transferring over to the new degree, enrollment in current music technology classes, and demand we're hearing from students who are are interested in these workforce-aligned careers. Now, this is very much a workforce-aligned degree. So these graduates will work in Las Vegas and far beyond in everything from podcasting, musical recording, live theater, film, audio editing, even some higher tech areas like 3D sound rendering, which involves mathematicians working with the musicians, which is pretty neat, and even music therapy and sound design for healthcare. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were over 140,000 jobs in the area of broadcast sound and video production in 2023. The median pay for those folks starts at about $59,000 or a little bit higher per year. And in Nevada, the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation lists sound engineer careers as increasing by almost 33% by 2030, just in the next 5 years, with audiovisual technician positions being expected to increase by as much as 43% in that time. So there's high demand nationwide and here in Southern Nevada. So today we ask for your consideration to approve the bachelor's degree in audio production. I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Thank you. OIC Corrigan. And with that, is there questions? Regent Arascata?
Thank you, Chair. On this agenda item number 3, in the second paragraph of the 7th page, it states that 58 students are currently enrolled in the minor of spring of 2025. I understand the complexities of developing the entire curriculum, but what if the first fall semester projected unduplicated headcount is 20 students and an FTE, a full-time, and FTE is 16 students? Is this an underestimate or an underwhelming number of students?
It may be, and I would say we would be hopeful that this is a low estimate. I will say that it's very hard to project exact numbers, and so we do tend to err on the side of under-promising and over-delivering, which is, I think, a good policy in life. And so, you know, those 20 students, I think, are a pretty solid lock. Could it be a higher number? Absolutely. We could see this program take off quite significantly. I also think this is a program that will be ripe for dual majors. So we have a fair number of students who are interested in getting 2 degrees simultaneously, and I think students in music and film, I think there will be engineering students, potentially even math and some healthcare students who might also benefit from a dual major. So I appreciate your question and your enthusiasm. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see higher numbers.
Oh, according to the current enrollment, it's going to be quite robust. I understand the methodology and the complexities of the methodology, and being conservative for the first cohort is understandable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Okay, I thought this was really a great program that you're doing, and considering your Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, I was surprised that we didn't already have a program like this. I wasn't aware that we didn't. And if I remember right from reading this, that you're going to reach out into the Clark County School District and let the students know. So just kind of briefly, what does that involve? Because I think this is going to be great. Music touches everybody.
Absolutely. We think we're going to generate really early demand from younger students in Clark County high schools. So we have recruiters who are routinely in the high schools talking about not just UNLV generally, but some of the programs that we offer. And so that team will be out there talking about this new degree, if it's approved today, to help spread the word that it exists. That will be particularly true in those high schools that have strong theater and music programs, the performing arts high school. We think it's going to generate a lot of interest. But I also think at the STEM high schools, right? Those programs that already have engineering, sound engineering is a big part of this, and I think there'll be demand there as well. So the interdisciplinary nature is great. We also have an early outreach team that works with kids all the way down to elementary and middle school. And so, you know, that's an opportunity for us to do, sort of bring this down and do simple things with them in the music and technology realm to start piquing their curiosity. So we're looking forward to it.
Great, I am too, and also Clark County, I don't live down there, but I know they have a robust mariachi program in the schools. And I would definitely want to make sure that your recruiters are going to that group too, because there could be your future sound engineers right there.
That is an excellent suggestion,
So,
thanks.
yes, Regent Fernandez.
Thank you so much. And wasn't going to say anything, but I'd love to echo some of the sentiments here. I also want to offer, if it hasn't already been considered, and I'm sure it has been, but a lot of the libraries, whenever touring libraries, they're now including some of these audio rooms, right? Because these younger students really want to be able to create their own music. So I really do see that as a strong pipeline. I walked through the new West Las Vegas library, and that was part of the design. And the architect was really excited seeing how successful that was in other places. So I'm really looking forward to the growth of those programs and really being able to give students and future generations really their own sound, not even just their own voice, their own sound. And that's really exciting.
Thank you for that. We also have a new podcasting studio, so we already have some on campus. We added one more, and so that will also support this infrastructure for the program.
And if I may ask, where's that podcast studio?
It's in MAB2, which is our newer building across Maryland Parkway on the east side. It currently houses the Division of Educational Outreach, or what we're now calling UNLV Lifelong Learning. And so that studio will be available to credit-bearing classes and programs like this one, but also to the community. And so we're really excited about that.
Awesome. Okay. I had another comment, but I forgot it, but that's okay. With that, this is an action item, so I will entertain a motion to approve the Bachelor of Arts in Audio Production.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Regent Brown. And do I have a second?
Regent Fernandez, second.
Regent Fernandez, thank you. And is there any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor of approving the UNLV requests for a Bachelor of Arts in Audio Production, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you very much. That motion carried unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's going to be a good one. Okay, with that, we'll go to item number 4. It's also an action item. This is UNLV request again, a program proposal for a BSBA in Insurance and Risk Management. And we'll go back to you, OIC Corrigan.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, Kate Corrigan, Officer in Charge, Executive Vice President, Provost Office at UNLV for the record. Good morning again, everyone. So our second proposal for your consideration is also a really special one. And with your permission, in a couple of moments, I'd like to bring up a special guest to also say a few words with me about the proposed program. So today we are asking for your consideration of a BSBA in Insurance and Risk Management. So the proposed Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Insurance and Risk Management is a transformational, career-focused degree that is designed to meet national workforce needs and expand student opportunity. It will be housed in the Lee Business School's Department of Finance, and the program will be the first of its kind in Nevada, and it already has really strong demonstrated momentum through institutional support, student interest, and industry investment, and you'll hear more about that in a moment. So as you may recall, the Board of Regents very kindly supported our request to establish a new center. It was called the Crestasy Center for Insurance and Risk Management 1 year ago at the June 2023 meeting. And with that approval came a very generous $5 million grant from the Nevada Surplus Lines Foundation. The Crestasy Center has had a very successful year, and that center will be interconnected with the proposed degree that we're here to ask for your support of today. The donor gift from the Crestasy Center is expected to pay out about $200,000 per year to support this degree and its students with your approval. So let me provide you a few details about this degree program that we have carefully considered before bringing this proposal forward. So first, we have early enrollment demand. We already have about 25 students who have indicated an interest in this degree program and the scholarships that will be associated with it. 17 students have expressed early interest in the prospective major, i.e. they want to know where they can sign up now, and we keep telling them, no, it doesn't exist yet. We've done no marketing research. This has just been from students who have heard about this prospective program on campus. We have scholarship support already lined up thanks to the generosity of some really key partners and donors. We have a $650,000 one-time gift from the Nevada Surplus Lines Foundation that will provide scholarships of up to $10,000 for the first 35 majors if this program is approved today. So that is a transformational experience for that first cohort of students. I'm also grateful to be able to tell you that we will have a separate $85,000 endowment that ensures sustained support for this program if approved. This program also has cross-disciplinary appeal. So it's attracting very early interest from lots of different students in real estate, in finance, and in accounting. There's interest in double majoring in risk management with these other degree programs, and there is interest among transfer students who would consider potentially coming here for this very special degree. It is an affordable degree. It has career relevance, as you'll hear in a moment, and it has this interdisciplinary appeal. So our projections for this program are that the first fall semester we would enroll about 50 students, all total. Third fall we're estimating 60, and the fifth fall semester we're estimating 75 students. These were based on market demand plus enrollment trends that we see in our BS in real estate program. You may wonder why look at real estate. Well, it's a sort of adjacent and similar field in many ways. Also, our real estate degree is aligned with another center, the Lead Center for Real Estate at UNLV. And so we took a look at that enrollment, and real estate enrollment has grown from 38 students in 2020 to 63 students in 2024. So, and that's a clear upward trajectory, and we think that the risk management and insurance degree will have a very similar and parallel trajectory. So we have secured faculty lines, including a prospective tenure track position dedicated to this program. We have appointments in the center, the Crestasy Center, for staffers who will be doing really critical leadership and important work in the center that will overlap with and support this program if approved. We have a $100,000 gift from the Philadelphia Insurance, which will support site visits, case competitions, and conferences. They're also doing a really innovative and workforce-aligned internship program for students between their junior and senior year. And we have launched an insurance challenge, so Extreme Risk Takers Challenge, that will be part of this program as well. There is a student organization already on campus, Gamma Iota Sigma. It's a national student organization, and we already have students at UNLV who are setting up a local chapter. That group has 53 members already. So finally, let me just say workforce demand. I've alluded to it, but let me just give you a quick example. The U.S. insurance industry expects over 400,000 healthcare, government, and tech jobs that would need and benefit from students from this degree program. And there will be over 4,000 openings within 15 years due to retirements in the insurance and risk industry. Only 25% of this industry and workforce is under 35. So there is a dire need for trained experts, and our students will, I think, find great success building their careers and being successful in risk management and insurance. So this is a relatively low-risk program, and we're extremely excited about the potential it would bring to our campus, the community, our students, and the labor force. So with that said, with your permission, I'd like to introduce a guest who is going to join me briefly at the podium to say a few words. This is a great friend of UNLV, somebody who's a rebel through and through, Greg McKinley. Greg graduated from UNLV in 1980 with a BS in accounting. He started with Cragen and Pike, which is over 100 years old, I might note. He started with them in 1984. He became a full partner in 1991. He eventually rose to CEO, and he now serves as the chairman emeritus of Cragen and Pike. Greg founded the UNLV Alumni Endowment Fund, which is pretty impressive and we're so grateful for. That fund has led to generational change and student support in our Rebel community. That endowment today has assets of about $1.25 million. Some of you may recall that Greg also served as the UNLV Foundation Board Chairman for 2 years in 2019 and 2020. So he stood in front of this board at that time. And Greg was more recently recognized as the Patrick T. Smith Achievement and Service Award winner in 2023, which is a high and distinguished award recognizing service to UNLV, the student body, and our alumni. Finally, and perhaps most relevant to why we're here today, Greg is really the person who worked so hard on our behalf to secure a $5 million grant from the Nevada Surplus Lines Foundation that started this whole thing. It founded the Crestasy Center for Insurance and Risk Management in the Lee Business School, and it led directly to this proposal for this new degree today. So, Greg?
Thank you. I don't have any prepared remarks, so I just thought I would talk to you a little bit about the history of the Surplus Lines Foundation. We were founded in 1996, And over time, our assets grew, and in 2012, Tom Carestasi was a fraternity brother of Dan Claich, who was the chancellor of the university system. And frankly, over a napkin at a bar, they agreed to give $5 million to the university system, which, by the way, you still have. I think that amount has grown to about $8 million now. That $5 million was going to be $2 million to UNLV, $2 million to UNR, and then $1 million to the community colleges. And the idea was to give scholarships to kids, hoping they would get into the insurance industry. As time went on, I was asked to become chairman of that board, so I'm chairman of the foundation board. And we approached both UNLV and UNR about starting a program. And I believe in 2017, Brent Hathaway, who is the dean of the business college, agreed to pay for a half of a professor if we agreed to pay for the other half. We agreed to that. We've been doing it ever since. And a couple of years ago, we started the same program at UNR. So we have a professor up at UNR that we're paying half of their, I'm sorry, we're paying the full salary for the professor at UNR. And then about 3 years ago, we were approached with an idea to start a center at the university. We took a look at it. I went to a company that I do business with, Philadelphia Insurance Company. They asked me to go back to Philadelphia and talk to St. Joseph's University, who has an insurance program. We talked to them. In our meeting, they said that 98% of the kids who are in this major have a job by the time they're handed their diploma. Georgia is higher than that. We then went back to the Philadelphia offices, and they said they do an internship program every year where they bring in 60 kids between their junior and senior year. And of those 60 kids, at the end of the 10-week period, 45 of the kids get a job offer prior to going into their senior year in college. There's literally a feeding frenzy for good kids in college, or who graduate from college with this degree. There's 400,000 openings in the next 10 to 15 years. These are good paying jobs. The insurance industry itself is $1.5 trillion industry. Frankly, this meeting couldn't happen without insurance as a backdrop. This building couldn't be here without insurance as a backdrop. No business could exist without insurance as a backdrop. So the industry is not going away. This is a dire need. The other thing that we have done, I was chairman of the foundation when we started the medical school, and one of the things great at UNLV, and one of the great things they did is they gave a full ride scholarship to all the first group of kids going through. So I frankly stole that idea and asked if we could do the same thing if you guys approve the major. So what we've done is we've created a scholarship, $10,000 scholarship for each kid for 2 years going through that. What we're finding as we're talking to these kids is some of them have already got a scholarship. So if they have a $5,000 scholarship, we'll bump it to 10. And that 35 is actually going to be many more than 35. So there's a gigantic need. The other thing is, during our research, we found that there's almost no centers like this or majors like this west of the Mississippi River. So we will be a regional hub for talent, and we put together a board that is a national board. We got people from all over the country on this board, and one of the main reasons we have this much momentum for this degree for the industry is first generation kids. These kids are hardworking, they are loyal, they're smart, they're gritty, and we will put them up against anybody. And I know that because I hire them myself. They're great kids. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and thank you for being here, Greg. So with that, do we have any questions or comments from the board? Carlos, and then Heather. Regent Fernandez, and then Regent Brown.
My name is still Carlos. I appreciate it, Regent. Wow, this is incredible. I have the privilege of representing architects, so we know all too well the need for insurance and liability and all of this, but also looking at this pipeline. I used to formerly work for the Vegas Chamber of Commerce. I know the history of your former business and its chair emeritus, but also just so blown away by the amount of support, because I had talked to President Evie about this, and just seeing the excitement around something that is so essential. And I think just the level of success that we can see, and Nevada, as Nevada continues to evolve, being able to really build a pipeline, but one that's so incentivized by the work that you've all been doing. So I want to commend the process here. I want to commend how intentional you've all been in being able to bring this forward. And every time I'm listening to these new degree programs, I always think, oh my gosh, should I go back and get another degree, right? There's always so much excitement and opportunity. So if I feel excited about it, I can't imagine just how it'll change the circumstances of these students who will enroll in this program and end up graduating and go into this pipeline of success. So I really appreciate the effort behind this, the intentionality behind it, and really the work of traveling all over and being able to bring funding in for these students to be able to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. And Regent Brown?
Thank you so much, Regent Brown, for the record, and thank you so much for coming up here and chatting with us. I hope you don't take offense to this, because I mean it very seriously, but this idea of this boring business is actually what will help move the most significant generational wealth from boomers to millennials and Gen Z. And I think giving them the opportunity to get in on the ground floor from college and putting a major together is so significant. I genuinely think that this will fill gaps for the future. And I think you said that only 35 and under is such a small percentage. And I think you're seeing that, right? And I mean, as someone who is actively trying to buy a laundromat, like, that is just these boring businesses. And I again, I'm not meaning that as an offense, right? That it's not a YouTube, TikTok star or whatever, but like these things that are fundamental to the core fabric of our society, getting people engaged, I think is so important. And I just want to say thank you for having that kind of forward thinking and making sure that our community has the type of insurance folks that will actually protect us. So thank you.
Can I speak to that? Can I speak to that real quick?
I apologize, yes.
There is no reason to apologize. The industry has done a horrible job basically promoting itself. And really the people in the industry, frankly, we've all we thought we would hit a double, we hit a home run. And we've done so well in this industry that by and large, we all want to give back however we can, just because we've been so lucky. So that's why we're here.
Thank you for that. And I will just say, I was excited when this whole program started with the Caratasi, is that right? Did I say it right?
Carestasy.
Okay, Center. And what I love about this is that you guys have found something that nobody else has in Nevada, number one. The fact that there's nobody really west of the Mississippi. I mean, that's a huge area of land. I look at my experience over business in my long life that I don't know anybody in the insurance business that has ever gone out of business or gotten laid off. So it's just a huge demand, and I'm so excited you already got a chapter with the students. You've already got 53 members, you said? That's really incredible. And this helps UNLV in general just grow your enrollment, because you guys have been really working hard on that. I mean, that's really good. And Greg, I appreciate knowing some history. I love that some bros got together on the back of a napkin and over a few drinks. And this is how great things happen, when you just get together and you just start saying, you know, what the needs are. And the $5 million, thank you for being instrumental in getting that, because it's a game changer. I would just say, I didn't realize there was a component with UNR up here. Maybe I did, but forgotten. And I would just say, one of our biggest challenges up here in the north is fire. I'm in the community of Incline Village up at Lake Tahoe, and I can't tell you how many of my friends have gotten their fire insurance completely dropped. The only reason I don't is because I'm with USAA, and this is really awful. And homeowners associations, all of them. This is a real problem.
One of the reasons we wanted to have more than just a degree, we wanted to have a center. And what a center will do is we will also do research. And one of the first issues that we've heard over and over and over again is wildfire. You know, how do we figure out how to manage that risk properly? So that's part of it.
Thank you for adding that, because last year DRI had their first, you remember what they called it? I kind of forget what they called it, but, yes, yeah, and they did the whole thing on wildfire. It was so interesting. And so I hope you're collaborating all together, so. This is a wonderful program. Thank you for taking the time to come up and see us face to face, and thank you for all your work at UNLV. It just shows you get a good degree, you graduate, you got passion, and you've done nothing but pay back to your alma mater, so you're to be commended for that. Oh, we have a question here from Regent Arascata.
And thank you, and I 100% concur with Chair Del Carlo. Well done, really appreciate it. On the first fall semester, you have the FTE of 40. I know you touched upon that earlier. How soon do you think that will fill up?
I think we're estimating low and under-promising, and we plan to over-deliver. I think especially with the scholarship support that's already been pledged, we will fill that class really quickly, and I think we're going to see those numbers soar.
You read my mind on that one, Mr. Podico, on that, 100%.
I'm glad you asked.
And then also, on page 5, it's mentioned that the University of Nevada has a minor in the same program. And I want to compliment the construction of the curriculum. The curriculum in which you brought forward with us today as a proposal, it's in line with the University of Nevada's, and it hopefully that transition from the minor over to the potential major down at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas will come to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the Regents? Okay. This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion for approval of the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Insurance and Risk Management.
Motion to approve.
Would you like to second, Regent Batista? Okay, we have a motion from Regent Brown and a second from Regent Batista. All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I think I heard everybody say yes. So we have unanimous approval, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Regents, and Greg
This is a
McKinley.
good one. This is a great one. Okay. And as they're coming to the podium, the next item number 5 is a possible action item also. This is the University of Nevada, Reno Organizational Unit Proposal for the Nevada Center for Patient Safety and Simulation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Paul Hauptmann, the Dean of the School of Medicine.
Yes, thank you, Chair Del Carlo and members of the committee. Paul Hauptmann, for the record, Dean at the University of Nevada, Reno School of Medicine. Thank you for the opportunity today to present an organizational unit proposal entitled the Nevada Center for Patient Safety and Simulation, which we hope will impact the quality of care delivered to patients in Nevada. Through various mechanisms, we anticipate that this collaboration between the state's public medical schools and Nevada healthcare facilities, with a particular focus on critical access in rural hospitals, will first identify and address patient safety issues that directly impact outcomes, reputational rankings, and malpractice rates. And second, bring medical simulation to our rural hospitals that lack the resources and educational expertise required in this area. This Nevada-centric center is also aligned with the Wolfpack Rising strategy, Lead for Nevada, increased service and collaboration with communities across the state. Additionally, the center supports NSHE's strategic plan in the area of workforce development and with opportunities for students to work alongside health professionals. To date, we have had productive conversations with the Nevada Hospital Association, Nevada Rural Hospital Partners, and a number of hospital CEOs, all of whom recognize the unmet need. We've also garnered interest in forging a meaningful collaboration with the Hospital Quality Institute, a patient safety organization out of Sacramento that collects data from a wide variety of hospitals throughout the state of California and from 20 other states. The Institute will help us collate and benchmark Nevada hospital data and, importantly, allow our rural hospitals to compare their data with similarly sized facilities in rural locations. Further, hospitals that participate will garner insight into best practices on a scale and scope that they can likely manage. Our proposed mission statement is that the Center for Patient Safety and Simulation will improve the overall quality of care received by the people of the state of Nevada by developing monitoring and training programs that address patient safety. Among our goals and objectives, we intend to design and implement simulation training to address commonly occurring patient safety issues, deliver training to community physicians, nurses, PAs, EMTs, respiratory technicians, and other healthcare professionals through mobile simulation, conduct research on the delivery of simulation to rural communities, use aggregated data to provide state-level information, and create a community and culture of patient safety training that leverages telehealth simulation and evidence-based best practices across the state. At UNR Med, we have already have a focus on rural health and medical education through our Office of Statewide Initiatives. We believe that mobile simulation saves time and costs that each site would normally accrue. An additional benefit is that it will showcase health career opportunities to high school students and others across the state. As such, we are particularly excited to use our expertise in medical simulation, including our educators who have experience in devising real-life scenarios using high-fidelity mannequins, to teach interprofessional teams in acute care management of stroke, heart attack, and other emergent and urgent conditions. For now, we plan to house the center on the UNR Med campus in the Pennington Health Sciences Building, embedded in the current simulation center space. One of the mobile simulation units, an ambulance-style vehicle, will be stored at our building at 745 Moana in a covered garage. Organizationally, we anticipate that the center will include an administrative faculty director in Reno. We expect to establish an advisory board consisting of hospital administrators, state agency officials, and nonprofit leaders engaged in patient safety initiatives. A planning committee is currently under construction under the supervision of OSI's director, John Packham. From a resource perspective, we will need to rely on a combination of support from multiple sources. We did have a request in the 2025 legislative session for the 2026-28 biennial budget for an enhancement to provide startup and operational funding. This may bear fruit in the next legislative session. We have a pending federal earmark request and plan to ask for support via community benefit grants from Medicaid managed care companies. I can also highlight that the Director of State Medicaid, Stacy Weeks, has expressed keen interest in this initiative. Finally, we will be working diligently to raise philanthropic dollars to support the center. Once established, we are confident that despite an uncertain funding environment at present, the center will be successful in obtaining grants to continue its work. UNR Med will support grant writing and related tasks to broaden the funding pool. The center will stand as another example of collaboration between the two great public medical schools in the state. And in that context, I believe that Interim Dean Allison Netsky may be available to provide a few words, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Is she here?
I believe she would be remote.
Okay, are you listening, Dean? Oh, we don't have that ability. I didn't know that in this room, okay. With that, then, we'll just go to our Regent Committee for questions and comments. Regent Arascata.
Thank you. Dean Hopman, thank you for the impressive proposal. One quick question. Will this proposal be focused on a single urban training center that will then have trained individuals going to urban areas? Or will individuals from rural areas be going to the training center?
Right, so the plan at present is that we go to the rural sites. That's hence the term mobile simulation, which we think will engender not only goodwill, but it's just more practical to run these simulations on the site where the actual care is going to occur.
How long will the mobile center be at each location?
So it depends on the programming, but it would probably be an all-day exercise at each location. And the idea here is that UNR Med would take the northern tier and UNLV Med, or the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, would take the southern tier of rural and critical care access hospitals.
Refresh my memory if you could, please. How many mobile units will there be in total?
We're proposing 2.
Thank you.
Yeah. No? Okay, I will have a few comments. I just think the collaboration's wonderful. And I was concerned, we talked, I know, about the funding, and unfortunately, we didn't get it from the legislature this time, but I still think it's important that this committee approves this, so you can move forward with this. And I think it's just a matter of time before we'll have the funding. It's very, as we all know, we didn't get any caseload growth. We did very well, don't get me wrong, but we may have a special session. That's certainly what I'm hearing from a lot of people. And I think rural health is super, super important, especially in a state like Nevada, that you have two major urban centers and the rest of the state is rural. And we know we've lost a lot of medical, especially like in Tonopah, where they don't even have a hospital anymore. So I think this is really an important program. And I know Regent Gokichi is not in this meeting, he's over in BFF, but he can tell you too, it's so important that we don't forget our rural citizens. I mean, they're really important to our state and all the work they're doing. So I think this is really great. And I love that we're collaborating. And this is the best thing that we do in a system, when we can collaborate the two medical schools together. When you just said, you know, UNLV is going to cover the South, and that's probably like Lincoln County and Nye County. And then UNR would cover the North. I think that's really great, and having those two ambulances is going to be terrific. So, and I do know in our nursing programs, and certainly those simulations, I mean, those really are what teaches our students, because you certainly can't have humans there. You got to have dummies, right? So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the organizational unit Nevada Center for Patient Safety and Simulation.
Motion to approve?
Thank you,
Second.
Regent Brown, and a second from Regent Arascata. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the organizational unit proposal for the Nevada Center for Patient Safety and Simulation, please say aye. Aye. Oh, we got another unanimous approval, so thank you so much, and we
Thank you,
look
Regents.
forward to having you come back in the future and tell us all about it a couple of years down the road when it's really working and growing and funded. And thank you for going after philanthropic. As you can see from the proposal earlier today, when the insurance, they went out and had a gift of $5 million. I mean, that's people are, those are transformative gifts, and I have a feeling healthcare this is not going to be any different. So
Thank you,
thank you
Chair.
so much. Okay, on item number 6, I'm going to pull, and I will tell you that we're going to have this at the Workforce Committee meeting, which is going to be, is it 5th of June? I know that. It was a little bit of miscommunication. We ended up having this on 2 separate committee meetings, and that's not a good thing to do. So I'm really easy to get along with, and I love my workforce chair there, so I said, fine, let her have it. So we'll do it then. So with that, we're going to go on to item number 7, and this is a possible action item, and this is a handbook revision for dual credit, and with that, we'll go to Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. Daniel Archer.
Well, thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's been a while since we last discussed dual credit here. We also have some board members on this committee that are still fairly new and miss some of the discussions that we had last year on this. So I think it's important that I kind of start by providing some brief background and really setting some context here for our discussion today. And so I want to really jump in at the outset here and begin by touching on a few key terms to really set the stage here. And first, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page when we talk about dual credit in terms of what does that actually mean here. So dual credit is really the overarching kind of all-encompassing term that is used to define any case where a high school student takes a college course and receives both high school and college credit. So obviously dual credit. Dual credit filters down into 2 distinct buckets you'll see here. And the difference really boils down to one simple thing, is who is teaching the course here. And so when we unpack these and we look at concurrent enrollment specifically here, we're talking about any college class taught by a high school instructor here. So those courses are taught at the high school site, which means they don't have to go anywhere, which obviously eliminates transportation barriers. It helps our lower socioeconomic students. It helps our students in rural areas that sometimes are really far away from a brick and mortar college campus here, so it's beneficial there. Then when you look at the other side, we have dual enrollment, and we're talking about any class taught by a college instructor. So could mean that the high school student goes to the college campus to take the course. So a common kind of pathway there is a student will go to high school in the morning, they'll leave at lunch, they'll go to the college campus, they'll take college courses with college students on the college campus in the afternoon. And then another case could be the college sends one of their instructors to the high school site. So again, when we talk about dual credit, it's any case where a high school student is taking a college course and receiving both high school credit and college credit, and concurrent enrollment is taught by a high school instructor. Dual enrollment is taught by a college instructor. So also want to talk about the timeline here. This is really the second foundational piece here. So a lot of things have happened over the last year, so I do want to talk about some of the key developments that occurred and kind of detail how we got here. And so when we look at our timeline here, from a system level perspective here, this work really started this time last year. This was back in 2024, the quarterly meeting right here at UNR. We were next door. Technically, we had that conversation on Friday afternoon. We talked about institutional roles and functions. There was a request from the chair for us to have a conversation about that. Within that conversation, a big focus was placed on dual credit and whether this should be kind of a core strategy for all of our colleges and universities in the state here. So we also talked a lot about geographic service areas, which are boundaries that once defined which institutions could serve specific regions of the states. I say once because we don't do that anymore. This was applied to the community college sector only here in Nevada, and it was discontinued in 2016. So we no longer have service areas. We've not had them essentially for close to a full decade now. So at the end of the conversation, it was noted that I think there were concerns about doing things that would hinder access to dual credit. And it was also noted that we didn't want to bring back geographic service areas. So we continued that dual credit conversation in July 2024 when we had the board workshop at the UNR Clark County Extension Center. We talked about the expansion of dual credit in Nevada. Obviously, it's grown a lot. We talked about dual credit trends nationally as well. And when having these conversations, there was one gap that really stood out, and that was that Nevada doesn't have a formal structure in terms of a system-wide structure guiding dual credit here. So based on this gap, we left that workshop with a goal to create kind of a unified, structured dual credit framework. And as a foundational piece to this, we created a group called Align and Shine Nevada, and we laid the groundwork here in August of 2024. You'll see that the purpose here was to develop a proposed framework that provides a clear dual credit structure, enhances process clarity, and promotes access, student success, and program completion. Again, so this was August of 2024. In terms of the makeup of the committee, just to provide some background on that, Felicia Gonzalez and I co-chaired this. She, at the time, was at the Nevada Department of Education. She has just left in the last month or so to go to Clark County School District. So she was great to work with, though. Really like her a lot. Very professional, very organized. So we had NSHE staff on there. We had NDE staff on there. We had representation from every NSHE institution. And then we had representatives from multiple school districts and high school sites across the state, representing both urban and rural here. So we had wide-scale representation there. In terms of kind of getting back on track here again, we started this work and kind of put this group together in August of 24, and then fast forward to September of 2024. At that point in time, we provided background on Align and Shine to ARSA. So we presented this committee, this group, Align and Shine, to ARSA, to this body. We talked about the scope of the work. We talked about who was on the committee. Then in September through March, Align and Shine really did its work and created a proposed policy and procedures here. And so essentially here, getting into the criteria, we'll get there in a second here. So We created a proposed policy that permits the Chancellor's Office to develop dual credit criteria and the procedures and guidelines manual. That's what we're seeking your approval for today. So again, we created a proposed policy that permits the Chancellor's Office to develop a set of dual credit criteria and the procedures and guidelines manual, and we're seeking your approval on this today. Given that there's so much attention on this, we did go ahead and include the criteria from the procedures and guidelines, though, just to ensure that everyone is on the same page about the direction that we're wanting to go. In terms of the criteria here and kind of breaking this down, the first key piece that we established was an admission standard. We set this GPA at a 2.5 or higher, and so the question then becomes why a 2.5? Well, we did this really for three reasons here. First, it's based on data. When you look at high school GPA in relation to college GPA, the final high school GPA drops about a half a point when you compare it to the first year of college here. So we want students at minimum to have a 2.0, preferably a higher GPA than that, but at minimum we want them to have a 2.0 in order to stay in good standing. This supports that while also supporting access, so it's kind of a balance between the two here. The second reason, this is based on some national norms. There are multiple systems and institutions that have a 2.5 threshold for admission purposes for dual credit programs. And lastly, this does align with current CCSD, Clark County School District practices. They require 2.5 in their memorandum of understandings and their agreements. They have obviously nearly 2 out of every 3 public school students in Nevada come from CCSD. So this aligns with the practice employed by our largest provider. It's also, again, worth noting we had smaller districts represented on the Align and Shine group, and they were very supportive of that 2.5 threshold as well. So when you look at dual credit through a national lens, much of the attention is hyper-focused on concurrent enrollment, which again is a high school teacher teaching a college course. And when it comes to concurrent enrollment best practices, NSHE is really the nationally recognized leader here. And that stands for the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships. So they have an accreditation process specifically for concurrent enrollment where they have quality assurance standards, they have assessment standards. You'll see that there are 11 states that require, incentivize, or encourage NSHE accreditation. Those are highlighted in the dark shade of green there. And then there are 16 states that base concurrent enrollment standards on NSHE standards. So essentially they've integrated NSHE standards and principles into their statewide dual credit models to build consistency and ensure quality here. And so when you look at NSHE, it really provides a clear path for implementing best practices here. It's one of those cases where we don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. With so many states already on board here, we have a strong foundation to really sort of build upon here. And so with that, by adopting these standards, we are in a position to become the 17th state to adopt NSHE standards. So we would be very much in good company here by becoming number 17. So in terms of the NSHE standards, again, the focus is on concurrent enrollment. And so there's really 3 core pieces of this. First of all is the collegiate experience expectations. The second is the high school instructor support and evaluation standards. And the third are minimum academic resource standards with the student in mind here. And again, we're focused on concurrent enrollment. And so just to kind of break these down here, when you look at our procedures and guidelines here, we have these alignment standards. This is really where that collegiate experience comes into play here. There's an expectation here. Again, we're talking about concurrent enrollment. There's an expectation that the syllabus and learning outcomes are comparable to what is used in the same course on the NSHE institution's campus. There's an expectation that the assignments, the lab experiments, the exams are comparable to what is used in the same course on the NSHE institution's campus. There's an expectation that the grading scale is the same as what's used on the NSHE institution's campus. And there's an expectation that the add drop and withdrawal periods match with what would be utilized on the NSHE institution's campus here. So again, having that continuity there with what goes on in the on-campus environment. So the second piece really gets into instructor support and evaluations here. So we want to make sure that there's an onboarding process here. So before teaching a concurrent course, a teacher is required to go through an orientation led by the participating NSHE institution. It doesn't stop there. It's not a kind of a one and done thing. The NSHE institution will also provide yearly discipline-specific training to help concurrent teachers stay on track and really align with what the college course is teaching on the college campus here. Again, continuity, continuity, continuity. So Other pieces here. Second, we want to make sure that there are collegiate evaluation protocols in place. So just like faculty that are teaching the course on campus, high school instructors teaching concurrent courses will be evaluated by their students using the college's standard student evaluation form. So the same evaluation that's used on the college campus will also be used at the high school for the concurrent enrollment instructor, and really along the same lines here. When we get into number 3 here. When the NSHE institution evaluates a concurrent enrollment instructor, it will use the same process that it uses to evaluate adjunct instructors that teach classes on the campus. So again, having that consistency there is key. And under this policy, NSHE institutions are required to ensure that concurrent enrollment students have access to academic support standards here. And we've outlined those: library services, tutoring, academic advising. This is a very simple concept here. If we're expecting them to succeed in college-level coursework, we want to make sure that they also have college-level supports in place. And I can definitely speak from experience here. I did concurrent enrollment before concurrent enrollment was cool. Back in the 90s, and I took college algebra. I wanted to get my math out of the way, and I struggled through it, but there was an amazing tutoring center at the community college that I did it at, and that's really was the difference between me being successful and not being successful. So we want to make sure that we have those supports in place for those students who are off campus. And then we also get into data here. It's not just about access, it's obviously about success here. So we have a framework that will help us assess the effectiveness of these programs here. And we're assessing these through multiple lenses here. We're looking at students who participated in concurrent enrollment. We're looking at those who participated in dual. And we're looking at those who did not participate in dual or concurrent enrollment. So we're looking at it through those 3 specific lenses there, and then obviously evaluating performance through a variety of metrics, which I'll cover here in a minute. But obviously, students come to college through different entry points here, and looking at these groups through 3 lenses allows us to examine how each path may influence both early and long-term college success here. So in terms of metrics here, kind of break this down here. I've got a data peacock here. So we have the NSHE capture rate. So we're looking at the percentage of high school graduates who enrolled in an NSHE institution within a 1-year period after graduation. That's a big access piece that really should have been number 1 in this framework. We have grades and hours earned during that first year of college. So looking at what their GPA is, looking how many hours they earn. Obviously, if they've earned more hours, they're more likely to graduate. They're more likely to graduate on time, which means affordability. So again, comparing those who did dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and those who had neither experience. First year retention rates, looking at those students who start in a given fall, what percentage of those are retained the subsequent fall. Looking at post-requisite course outcomes, which you see your grades in a later dependent course that help determine if the prior course provided the necessary skills and knowledge here. So it really boils down to the prerequisite modality, whether it's dual, concurrent, or regular college classes, that impact post-requisite course success. So let's say we're looking at English Composition 2 grades, which is a post-requisite course. The follow-up here is really simple. Does taking the prerequisite course, English Composition 1, as concurrent, dual, or in a regular college format impact English Composition 2 results here? So we're going to be looking at this through multiple lenses, really trying to make some key connections there on student success. And obviously we have completion rates, looking at the percentage of students who are completing degrees and certificate programs here. And so last piece gets into faculty qualifications. And when we break this down, there's really 2 things in particular that I want to note here. We note, and this was actually in the existing policy and guidelines manual, but we note that NSHE institutions have to comply with any faculty requirements prescribed by their accreditor, which is the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities, which is up in Seattle, Washington. We also note that high school instructors teaching concurrent courses shall meet the institution's required minimum qualifications for instructors teaching college-level courses. So just to reiterate, they have to meet any applicable accreditation standards, and they need to align any requirements used for high school instructors with what applies on campus. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Regent Arascata.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Archer, Thank you very much for your time, and that was a great presentation. Huge compliments on your graphs. Wow, that's good. No, it's weird looking at each other on these. Couple questions for you in regards to the policy alterations that are being proposed today. One of the items that I don't see on the dual and concurrent enrollment for high school students is also on fees. So my question is, in our program, our P&G manual, Chapter 7, Section 1 of our program's, our Procedure and Guidelines Manual, will the fees be alternating also? If we're going to be eliminating concurrent out of that word, because our current fees are, concurrent enrollment for this academic year is $100 per course. However, for the dual enrollment, it's $154 per course, per credit, excuse me.
Right, so that will stay the same. Yeah, we have our predictive pricing model, and so we'll want to make sure, obviously, that the nomenclature matches up, obviously, as we make these changes. But yeah, we're not planning to change any of the rates. We have the predictive pricing model, and those are all preset.
Correct, but let me clarify my question. If we're going to be swiping out the word concurrent with the proposal today on that chapter, Title 4, Chapter 16, Section 2, as you have it right here, is that you're going to be eliminating or crossing out the word dual or concurrent. So the word concurrent is no longer going to be listed here.
Well, it's, yes, I'm sorry, this is Daniel Archer for the record. Regent Arascata, yes. The concurrent terminology will still be used. That will be the cheaper price because that is one that's taught on the taught on the high school campus by a high school instructor. So that nomenclature stays in place, yes.
That one will stay in place?
Yes.
So the price line for that per credit will be staying in place?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just want to get the confirmation. Thank you very much for the clarity.
Regent Brown?
Thank you, Regent Brown, for the record. On your last slide, slide 25, it talks about the Northwest Commission on College and Universities and that it has set standards. Can you explain specifically, is this the master's versus bachelor's? What is that? What does it say in there?
They essentially say that you have to have a policy. The institution can set the policy and they just have to apply it consistently when it's on campus or off campus.
And as far as we know, to teach on campus across our system, it's a master's or higher. Is that correct?
To teach general education classes, that's generally correct, yes. But obviously the career and technical education is a little different, but yeah.
And we make exceptions for specialty and subject matter experts and stuff like that, but okay. I could not be more happier that we are finally addressing this. Last year, it was like the last agenda item at the end of a 2-day meeting. We'd all been here for 47 hours that day. And I was actually walking in a wedding. My friend was so mad at me. It was fine. And I couldn't really participate in this. So I'm glad that we were able to then talk about it in July. And I just want to commend the committee that you've put together to actually work on this. I know I've been bothering you about it and you keep telling me to be patient. So I'm glad I was patient because I really appreciate this. It is no secret that I have been very vocal that I do not think our R1s should be in this concurrent and dual enrollment space. It seems very weird to me that we celebrate them being in the top 3% of colleges, celebrate millions of dollars of research, but then in the same breath, they're training English 101 to 17-year-old high school students. My first year as a regent, I actually attended a dual and concurrent enrollment conference just because I wanted to learn more. And the reaction I got from people there, they were also confused why we would have that. So I think this is an opportunity for us to not just set standards, but then actually figure out what mission differentiation looks like. Because I'll also say that I do think it is weird that we are not consistent with the master's versus bachelor's and the fact that our community colleges are insisting a master's, but then our R1s are allowing bachelor's. I find that inconsistency to not even be the spirit of what we're trying to get here. So I'm glad that we're at least addressing it and having this conversation. I do want to expand access to this as much as possible, but the truth of the matter is, a lot of this wasn't a new expansion. This wasn't coming in and expanding to new schools. It was actually taking over existing relationships, and that also didn't serve us a purpose. And the last thing I'll say is that I actually don't think that concurrent and dual enrollment students should count towards overall enrollment rates when we talk about growth trajectory of our campuses. I know that's currently being done on several of our campuses, and I think we have to talk about, you know, who's actually enrolling, who's actually participating versus the high school cohorts. And then the last thing I'll say is that I asked this when we first started talking about it. I know that for our R1s, it is a 3.0 GPA to be enrolled, and that some of our concurrent and dual enrollment students are not a 3.0 GPA. Now, I've talked to many people about this, and we, you know, want to give folks that have maybe had a rough freshman and sophomore year in high school an opportunity, and that shouldn't be taken away from them. But if they are on the understanding that they will then matriculate to an R1 institution, but then they can't, then we are not setting them up for success. I did ask this question and never got a reply to it of the ones that are let in, because they did say that there were exceptions made for those students, but I never got a number of how many exceptions are made. Of those exceptions, how many actually matriculate, and then of the ones that matriculate, how many actually stay there versus maybe going back down to a community college. And I think it would be really important to know that information. I asked it 2 years ago, so by this point, I'm hoping that we have it somewhere in our system.
This is Daniel Archer for the record. So yeah, you and I are kind of on the same wavelength. I did reach out to UNR and UNLV recently and got some of those data points and kind of writing up a report for you. It just kind of got lost at the end of the session here, but we do need to go back and see if we can dig a little deeper to see how many of them are actually going to community colleges. We know how many that go to UNR, go into UNR, or do dual credit at UNLV and UNR and then subsequently enroll at the sponsoring dual credit institution. We have those figures, but we do need to look at through more of a system and see how many are going to CSN or TMCC or wherever. So we can follow up and get those added details for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I think we can't really tell this story well and really map out what this looks like unless we know the behavior of our students who are already going through this. So thank you for collecting that data.
Okay, you've done a lot of work since the end of that two-day retreat that we had, so I appreciate that. And when you said that, like, we'll be one of 17 states that base our policy on NSHE, that's through, like, their boards of higher education, right? That's not through legislatures.
Right. I think it's primarily through boards. So the two systems
Okay.
I worked in, it was done at a board level, but there are some states that are highly prescriptive where the board has very little control, and it does lean more heavily. So some of those could be legislatively mandated, but I think most of them are probably board-based.
Okay, thank you. And I know you had, your committee, when you meet with the academic officers, they all buy into this now, and they're all very supportive. I mean, I really appreciate how you reach out to NDE, rural schools, urban schools. I mean, it sounds like you had a really big cross-section to look at this, because, I mean, since I've been on the board, our numbers have done nothing but really skyrocket in this, for students. And I think it's really important that we offer this to them, and that's another debate that Regent Brown brought up, but I just think these students today are just so different than they were 50, 40, 30 years ago. I mean, with technology, and they walk around with these computers in their hands and talk on these things. I mean, it's just, their kids are so much more advanced to me today. So I think it's really important that we set the standards and have that collaboration with the school districts. So with that, this is let's see, this is a action item, so I will entertain a motion to,
Sorry.
Oh, I just like, Robert's rules, they like us to say them what the motion is. Right?
I was going to say, I'll motion to approve action item number 7 to revise board policy Title IV, Chapter 16, Section 2, directing the Chancellor's Office to develop criteria and procedures for the establishment, maintenance, and promotion of quality dual enrollment, dual credit program, including but not limited to reflecting national standards and best practices in dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and early enrollment programs.
And do I have a second? Second from Regent Batista, and just, you new regents, the motion's always in the little paragraph. So, yeah, we're on number 7. Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second, and if there's no further discussion, all in favor of passing the motion, please say aye. Aye. We have an unanimous, so, okay, you got some more work cut out for you there, Daniel, and some more marching orders, so thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to item number 8, which is an information-only item, and we go to, Marcy Jackson. She is our EPSCoR, and you might, because we have 2 new regents on the board, you might explain a little bit about EPSCoR and exactly what all this is, because I didn't know what it was when I was brand new.
Yeah, sure, will do. As the chair stated, I'm Marcy Jackson, the director of the System Sponsor Programs and EPSCoR office. I will apologize in advance that I'm getting over a sinus infection, so my voice may be a little bit rough today. This report is for the fiscal year 24 sponsor programs, which was July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. The report was developed in January of 2025. So any of the Regents alerts or the news media that you have seen in the last 4 to 5 months is not included in this report. Those items will be included in the fiscal year 25 report that will come to you next year. So those of you who are newer to the committee will get some of the verbiage out there for you in your public service. You're probably familiar with the terms grants and grants management. In higher education, we use the terms sponsor programs for all of the externally funded research and scholarly activities. So these are external funds that are brought in by our institutions to do specific projects. And those funding agencies could be federal agencies, state, we've got industry partners, we've got foundations and nonprofits that provide funding for these external sponsored programs. The other term that we use a lot in higher education that may be new to you is research administration. And that is our grant professionals who assist the faculty and staff in managing these funds. Especially on the federal side, there are an amazing amount of rules and regulations that we need to follow, and so they keep us in compliance. Each of the campuses has their own grants office or sponsor programs office, and those vary in size from some of our community colleges are a 1-person or 2-person office to our research institutions that can have 20 to 30 individuals who are working on managing these external funding projects. Within system administration, we have our sponsor programs and EPSCoR office, and we manage large statewide projects. Most of these are collaborative projects where our institutions are involved as well, and we subaward a majority of the funds to the institutions, and they work together to implement the programs. EPSCoR is a specific type of federal funding, the established program to stimulate competitive research, and it's funding that is provided by several of the major federal agencies, including NSF and NASA, that allows states who have not typically gotten a high amount of research funding to compete for these specialized funds to help us increase our research infrastructure in the state. So the EPSCoR funding in general has gone through our office, and then the institutions work with us on implementing the projects statewide. So these are self-reported numbers that come from each of our institutions every year. Your full report is in the meeting materials, and we're just going to hit some of the highlights here. I do always like to mention that the sponsor programs funding does help NSHE meeting all of the strategic goals. We have funding that comes in for research, of course, which is what you might think of first, and it's very important for our R1 institutions, DRI, and our emerging research institutions to receive that funding to increase research competitiveness. But we also receive funding that helps with our preparatory for our low-income and first-generation students, where you receive money for tutoring and counseling, and we receive funding for workforce development and certificate programs for our industry needs. This slide I usually have as a 5-year trend, and this year I decided I wanted to do it as 6 years. It shows all of the awards that we have received. And so that is new funding that has come into our institutions during the fiscal year. And the blue part of the bars is non-COVID related funding. The red is COVID related funding. So of course, between fiscal years 20 and 22, we received a large influx of COVID response funding. But it's important for me to see that in 2019, our sponsor programs awards for the year were $247 million. And this year, then fiscal year 24, last year actually, it was $450 million in non-COVID related funding. So that is a huge increase over the course of a very difficult part of our history. And that is a credit to our faculty and all of the people who work in the sponsor programs and research administration field. For this past year, between 23 and fiscal year 24, we did have a 3% increase in the non-COVID related funding. This will probably be the last year we'll have this slide. We did highlight which of the institutions did receive COVID pandemic response funding, and only 5 of the institutions did in fiscal year 24. That funding is, of course, waning, and we will not have that in the future. So the funding distribution fiscal year 24 varies for our institutions based upon their mission and their size and and their research focus, of course. UNR is the institution that does receive the most sponsor programmings, but one of the important things I like to highlight here is how much direct funding our institutions receive. That means that the funding hasn't come to us via the state or via one of the research institutions that people might think of, but our institutions have competed and gotten this money directly from the federal government themselves, showing that we are competitive on the national scene. And 47% of the $463 million that we received in sponsored programs this year was direct funding. So each of the next slides is a highlight for each institution. There's a lot of numbers on here. We do list where they've had increases in specific categories of funding and where they have had decreases. These are standard categories that are used in the sponsor programs and research administration field. And I do show the 5-year trend for each of the institutions, as well as which of the agencies they've received some increases from in the fiscal year. While you look at the numbers, I like to make it a little bit more personal. I have the institutions send me some highlights they want you to hear about what's going on their campus. So for UNLV, they had an increase in research funding of $7.6 million. They also have a very large increase in scholarships in fiscal year 24, which included the Pathways to Teach and Nevada Teach scholarship programs, which increases the number of teachers that we have in our state. Other highlights include a $2.9 million UNLV Applied Innovation Center from GoEd, $2 million from the Nevada Division of Public Behavioral Health for Epidemiology and Biostatistics Workforce Development Program, and NSF funding for Cyber Core Scholarship for Service with a focus on artificial intelligence. UNR received $75 million from the Governor's Finance Office to fund a new state public health laboratory for Nevada. The NSHL serves the entire state of Nevada, including healthcare agencies, health districts, businesses, and individual citizens. And the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health is also supporting $2 million to support the effectiveness of the laboratory and strengthen the epidemiology and informatics workforce. And over $4 million came in from Department of Health and Human Services for Early Head Start, which supports training of university students for careers in early childhood education and providing high-quality care for children ages 0 to 7. And funding was also received from the renowned Institute for Healthy Innovation for Healthy Project 2024 to identify high-risk individuals in early disease progression. DRI had a very successful 24, submitting 231 proposals and receiving 227 awards. DRI, along with UNLV, University of Arizona, and the University of Utah, partnered and were awarded one of the first NSF Regional Innovation Engine Awards. This award is based on Southwest Sustainability Innovation and is looking at a regional research and technology hub with a focus on carbon capture, water security, and renewable energy, with the goal of both research and economic development in these areas. The NSF also funded DRI to better understand the nexus between urbanization, urban water, and irrigation, air pollution, and anthropogenic aerosols. Contracts from the Department of Defense and Energy are more than half of DRI's sponsor programs, and DRI continues its climate change research and its STEM education programs, including $1 million to support STEM education partnerships and internships. NSHE had an increase of over $5 million in sponsor programs in fiscal year '24, with $1.8 million distributed to students in scholarships and fellowships in the Student Tuition Assistance Program as partnerships between NSU and CCSD in an effort to grow the number of students in the state, teachers in the state. Senators Cortez Masto and Rosen and Congresswoman Lee helped secure funding from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration to support a new psychoeducational mental health clinic at NSU, and that clinic is already serving pre-K through 12 students. And funding was received to support a life learning residential experience for students to increase their first-year retention, as well as the First and Family program to provide academic and social and economic support programming for high school students in partnering schools. CSN also had an increase in funding in fiscal year '24, with $2 million coming in from the Department of Labor to work in partnership with the Regional Transportation Committee and Workforce Connections in training mechanics and logistics, automation, and integration technicians to service zero-emission vehicles. NASA provided funding to the planetarium for workshops in which students ages 5 through 8 built engines. That is a renewable source of energy on a spacecraft. And this one is a little bit unusual. The band Metallica joined with the American Association of Community Colleges to award 60 scholarships to the Division of Workforce and Economic Development at CSN. With the NSF EPIC grant, they hosted the Hawaii Community College and North Marianas College to study how CSN's environmental science program monitors and samples water quality. At GBC, there was an increase of $1.6 million in sponsored programs. They received funding from HRSA to expand the medical assistant phlebotomist EKG programs to Pahrump and to Winnemucca. This had been started by OSET in 2023, and they were able to expand. GBC also received funding from HRSA to launch the Associate of Applied Science in Cardiorespiratory Care Science degree, and they received additional funding from the Hemsley Charitable Trust and the Nevada Department of Education, and this will launch in Elko, Winnemucca, and Renown Health. And state funding helped GBC launch a successful paraprofessional skills training certificate and early skills certificate program. GBC also partnered with Goen to expand the instrumental technology program to Winnemucca and to introduce line boring, which was a request from the industry for its welding technology program. TMCC had an increase of $1.6 million in awards. They received money from the Department of Labor to expand training programs in manufacturing that emphasize diversity, equity, and career paths in high-quality jobs. They also received EDA, federal pass-through from Nevada Works to provide tuition and textbooks to support short-term programs aligned with high-demand industry. TMCC received money from GoEd to enhance workforce development in advanced manufacturing, diesel, welding, data science, logistics, automotive, and machining. And TMCC is leading a NSF-funded EPAC program, which supports engineering students transferring to four-year institutions by addressing academic and structural barriers. WNC also had an increase in funding of $2.2 million. DEETR is supporting the College Readiness for Students in Transition program to prepare students with disabilities for success in college and beyond. WNC also partnered with TMCC, GBC, and UNR on the EPAC program I just mentioned with transfer experiences for engineering students. And they received congressionally directed funding via HRSA to remodel the Pinion Building on the Fallon campus to expand the nursing program and provide an adequate nursing lab. This project is also being supplemented by private donors. WNC launched a battery recycling training program with GoEd, and that will help contribute to the lithium loop workforce. So those are just some of the highlights of what's going on at the institution level. We do also like to highlight the intra-system collaborations. This is where one of our institutions has received an award and they sub-award funds to another NSHE institution and they partner together on the project. You can see here that UNLV, UNR, DRI, NSU, and TMCC all provided sub-awards to their sister institutions. And then as NSHE system administration, of course, part of our function, as I mentioned, was to collaborate statewide, manage collaborative statewide programs. So that's why our number in that column is so high. But overall, we had over 125 sub-awards among our institutions with roughly $14.8 million in collaborative projects. This table shows the number of proposals that are submitted and received. It doesn't always match your Appendix A directly because of when award funding is received, but you can see we have had, we've had increases in fiscal year 24 in both the proposals submitted and the number of awards received, and in the total amount of award funding received as well. One of the things that is managed through our Office of System and Administration is management of the system state program matching funds, which comes to us from the Nevada legislature. There are federal sponsors that require that we provide match before they will release the federal funds to us. And so that includes the NSF EPSCoR, NASA EPSCoR, Department of Education Gear Up, NASA Space Grant, and then we use some of those funds for the EPSCoR infrastructure at our office. So the amount that we give out to the institutions varies year to year based upon the competitive solicitations that we run for these programs. And the funds that generally are going to the institutions are seed grants, faculty projects, scholarships, fellowships, and for the NSF EPSCoR, we help support new faculty who are hired to work on that project. So we received $463.4 million in awards in fiscal year 24. Pandemic response funding was $13.3 million. I want to thank each of the sponsor programs offices for their work on putting all of these numbers together. It does take quite a bit of work to get it done, and just acknowledge all of the work that goes on the campus level with our faculty, our administrative staff, and our students to bring in this funding and really enhance the work that is happening system-wide. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them.
Thank you, and I believe this is an annual report you
Yeah,
come
it
once
is.
a year.
Every year.
Okay, that's all I thought. So with that, do we have any questions or comments? Regent Brown and then Regent Arascata.
Thank you. Regent Brown for the record. I really appreciated the slide showing the collaboration and how they're working together. To steal a term from our former chancellor, that is real proof of the systeminess of our institutions. And I just think it has to be said that our presidents and deans and all their staff, the fact that they're going after these grants and making sure that they aren't just relying on state funding, but really exploring and expanding and filling gaps. I mean, this presentation really shows just the numbers, but it doesn't put in all the blood, sweat, and tears that we know goes behind all of these applications and following up. And you mentioned it earlier, just because you get a grant, you got an FTE that has to manage it, and maybe only half of it is allocated till you hit your benchmarks. And that is no small feat, and it is definitely a difficult thing. So to see so much money coming to our system, and I know that there's so many more plans to do, to go after more grants and more collaboration, and I just want to say that we acknowledge it, and it's very special to see that in our system, because we really are changing so much of who we are because of this. So, and that's really just a testament of the people involved. So, thank you.
Thank you. Regent Arascata.
One of the great highlights of this entire presentation for me was page 15 of 18. And Mr. Casale, if you could pull that up, you too. Yeah. The submitted proposals and the received proposals, that is extremely impressive. Some of them have a 84% success rate, and others are just as high up there. And it just shows an enormity of collaboration and success when you have, I'm trying to look at it, 2,296 submitted proposals and a receiving of just a shade under 1,500 at $456 million, as you identified. So very, very well done to all the campuses. The representation, DRI, you're not flying under the radar on that one, Dr. Acharya. That is one heck of an success rate. Very well done by everybody.
Thank you. And I agree with Regent Arascata and Regent Brown. This is a wonderful report, and I do have to ask, you didn't mention it, but with the current climate since January 20th, are we going to be losing funds? I mean, where are we on all that? Because I thought we've lost some funding. So could you?
Yes, Marcy Jackson for the record, we definitely have received cancellation notices in the last few months. Those, like I said, will be on the next report. But just a brief snapshot, we are currently 58 awards system-wide that have received cancellation notices. Of those awards total about $55 million, and the loss that we're looking at is about $34 million. And so the major losses that we receive, the federal agencies that have cut us are the Department of State, USAID, the NIH, and NSF. Those are the three major ones that have been cutting based upon the changes in priorities from the new administration.
Okay, my follow-up to that would be, okay, those three major ones cutting, but is anything growing that?
I would say at this point, the federal funding is just in flux. And so we don't know what is going to happen over the course of the next few months. I would not say that we have a good read on what will happen the remainder of the year.
To be continued. So thank you so much for your report every year, and I know you do a yeoman's job in your office, and I really appreciate all your effort in your teams. So thank you for being here today, reporting. Okay, yeah, let's give her that. And that was information only, and we'll go on to item number 9, but I am pulling this today because our presenter is sick and can't be here. And it's Dr. Fred Harris, and we're going to put this on the September agenda. And just based on what Marcy was just saying, we'll have better information by September to really update this report and make it a little bit more robust too. So with that, we'll go to item number 10, which is new business. Is there any new business in this room? No. SES, do you have any new business on the phone? I'm sorry? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking public comment, new business at the same time. Any new business to the Regents? Okay, not hearing any. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now to public comment. Is there any public comment here at UNR? Are you coming to the podium, Mr. Irwin? Okay. You know the drill. I don't have to tell you. 2 minutes. State your name.
Kent Irvin,
It's 3 for the committee, right.
KENTERVIN, Nevada Faculty Alliance. I just want to comment on the last discussion of the withdrawal of federal funds already awarded to our NSHE institutions. This is really alarming and outrageous that grant projects that have been awarded, that are in progress, that funds were committed and personnel have been committed are suddenly being withdrawn by the federal government. And I just hope that NSHE and the institutions are taking all avenues of redress, including legal action where appropriate, to get those funds back and continue the great research that our institutions are doing in a variety of fields, as well as the awarding of indirect cost according to past agreements with the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, it's, what time is it? Oh, is this, I'm sorry, SES?
There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. We got a late start and finished early. And with that, it's 11:40 and we'll adjourn. Thank you.